Yo, what's up guys, Hoarcrux here, and if you clicked on this video, congratulations, you are a MetaSlave. For the Magicka, round of applause. Okay, so, with that out of the way, if you're going to be MetaSlave, you might as well do it right. So, here's my build of course, Elfbane Rothgar, and how to properly run it, okay? I'm not going to lie, some of it's expensive, so let's go and hop right into it, shall we? So, character sheet. Here's everything fully unbuffed. We're in heavy armor. We're doing 511. Mage Mundus. This gives you more sustain and damage. Don't go with the apprentice. Always go with the mage. Bewitched Sugar Skulls. Why we run Bewitched Sugar Skulls? Because it's the best food in the game. Gives us health recovery plus all our stats. ESO plus member. You get better RNG if you're ESO plus member. Trust me. Alright, so we are Dark Elf. Dark Elf is by far the best Magicka class if you're running against other cheese builds, which this one kind of isn't cheese, but it is super meta, best in slot. If you're running against other best in slot Magickas, well, you're going to absolutely shut them down because of your racial passive. Check it out, fellas. Dark Elf, resist to flame. You're immune to the burning status effect. Well, guess what? You can't proc concussion. Excuse me. You cannot proc combustion on a Dark Elf. So that's why we're Dark Elf. So you can shit on the other MetaSlaves. And the reason you're going to shit on them is because you have the best gear with the best traits and the best potions. So, next. Character sheet. Like I said, here's everything fully unbuffed. I would not go below 20k maximum health. If you don't have 20k maximum health, get your build to where it is there somehow. This may or may not be fully buffed. Actually, it's technically not going to be fully buffed because spell damage proc, but whatever. We're just going to go ahead and enchant this bad boy real fast. Good lord. Should have prepared this for the video. So, never mind this this little detour. So here everything fully buffed. Front bar. Actually, it didn't proc her. Can I not attack this thing? That's crazy. Well, anyway, you go over 3k spell damage in your front bar. Back bar, here's everything it looks like. Your resistances are super high. Spell resistance, super fucking beefy. Physical resistance, you can play around with it, make it a little bit higher if you wanted to run more reinforced pieces. Check out our health recovery. It's at 2300. This is very important on our back bar because health recovery, this patch has remained relatively untouched. So it has received an indirect buff since healing's been absolutely nerfed into oblivion. So explain the character sheet a little bit more. Crit resist, that should be about min-max. I wouldn't go any more, any less than that. Spell critical really low, doesn't fucking matter. Run a Malacanth rings anyway. You guys know what that is by now. Stam recovery is irrelevant since we're running heavy arm. Magic recovery is also irrelevant since we have a charged Destro Inferno staff, which I'm going to hop into right now. So you may say, okay, this noob's running fucking willpower. Wow, I've never seen this build before. Well, yes, no, you haven't. So the items and setups I have are completely min-maxed. I've done hours and hours and hours of playtesting in groups, in two-people groups, in solo play. This is all around the best. There's not much, or if anything at all, I'd be willing to change, except one trait, and that's just because I'm not going to get the stones to change it until tomorrow. So, with that being said, we have a charged Destro Inferno staff with a weapon damage glyph. Now, most MetaSlave Magickas will tell you to put either flame or shot glyph or a disease glyph. Yeah, that's great and all, but it only affects one target. And when you're 1vxing fellas, how often are you just focusing one target or even have the ability to focus just one target at a time? So the weapon damage enchantment is an all-around the best in my opinion because it does everything. It helps your healing, helps your damage, and you don't have to necessarily dedicate your time to one target. So that's why this is here. You get spell damage, maximize on your front bar. We're running this front bar. Back bar, this set is very underrated. So this is endurance. So the three piece on our back bar, it gives us max health, which we desperately need when we're backpedaling, and it gives us a shit ton of health recovery. For a three piece, this is a massive amount of health recovery. Look at our health recovery on our back bar. So this is pretty much a rapid regen tick every second on our back bar without even having to do anything. It's wonderful. I tried other health recovery builds to push this to actually over 6k, running Troll King, Eternal Vigor, and Endurance with Major Fortitude. buff. It's great. You're super tanky. You pretty much don't die. You just don't. But your damage is very lackluster. Your mobility is very lackluster. So I wouldn't recommend that unless you're literally tanking a Zerg, or you're running in like a 4-man group with a dedicated healer and you just want to tank 50 people just because you can. So there's that. So that's why we're running those two sets. Now, running the double dot poisons, this helps with our stamina. We're not going to be light attacking often on our back bar, simply because, it's close range. I mean, you will get some light attacks also when you do. Having one of these poisons proc is very good because it helps with your stamina recov, because it procs with your passives. Now, like I said, we're running charge because this pretty much anytime you apply a flame effect, you effectively have about 75% chance to apply the burning status effect. If you guys are unfamiliar with the burning status effect is, it's on the DK passives here. Let me find it. So, combustion. Anytime you apply burning status effect, you get 500 magic. Anytime you apply poison, you get 500 stamina. There's no global cooldown on this. If you have 10 people jump on you, Grothgar procs, you apply 10 burning status effects. Okay, you're getting 5k a tick every time it applies it. So pretty much infinite sustain. The more people you have on you, the better. This build does struggle a little bit. This is the only weakness to the build when you're in like a 1v1 against a class that can cleanse, like a Magplar or Stamplar. We don't really have a problem with Magplars because we do have such a high spell resist on our build, 31k. The only class that can really give us a go is a Stamplar, and that's if they have to play it very, very fucking well. In no CP, they no go. Like no CP, you're going to dig on them all day just because they're going to run out of sustain. That's the way the class is. But in CP campaigns, it's a little bit more tricky. You just have to block their burst correctly. If you miss the block, you're probably going to die. So anyway, enough about that. Anything else I need to mention? And no. Alright, so next up we're running. Don't laugh at this fucking trade. It's invigorating. Ideally, since this is a light armor piece, you wouldn't want to go reinforced. You would want to go impenetrable on this, or you could go sturdy. It's entirely up to you. So Grothgar, if you guys are unaware by now, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but Grothgar does a shit ton of AoE. If you run it with Elfbane, which we're going to go over in just a moment, it's up 100% of the time. And if you pair this with Malacanth, this does 25% more damage. So 10% is 250, 20% 500. So essentially, this is a 3k dot tick, over 3k dot tick every second in AoE around you indefinitely, and it's very oppressive. It's pretty good. One of the best, if not the best. Like I said, I'm not a MetaSlave myself, but if you're going to run the MetaSlave BIS, here you go. Next set, Elfbane, of course. You guys can pause, you need to look at it, but essentially, all your dots are going to remain on your targets pretty much until they die. Adds 5 seconds to everything. You hit a engulfing things on someone, they run away. It's on them for like fucking 19 seconds. Well, while they're running away, kiting around, it's still ticking, still proccing burning status effect. Well, each time it procs, you're getting resources back. So even though they're not up on you, they're still giving you resources elsewhere. So this is really, really good. Very easy to play and maintain. Next is a medium arm piece, Grothgar. We have sturdy on this, reduce block chance. Impin, sturdy. Reinforce on our big pieces. Ideally, you would probably want reinforce on your chest as well, but I don't want to spend the money nor the resources allocating this elsewhere. So as of right now, we're running impenetrable here, and then reinforce on this. This essentially gives us a little over 300 resistances, spell and physical. You would run this on your legs and chest, ideally. Next is feet, penetrable. Like I said, 2800 is about the sweet spot for your critical resist. Now, when it comes to jewelry, you can mix this up however much you want. Since we're running super low Magicka anyway, most of our sustain is coming back just from intrinsically proccing from Grothgar and combustion. We're really abusing that passive. We're running a reduced spell cost on 2 of the pieces, and then The last one, rank spell damage. You can change this out to recovery. You can change this out to even more reduced cost. Running reduced cost and heavy armor is super, super beneficial. You get the full 203 Magicka cost reduction, whereas if you run cost reduction on light armor or even a Breton, any passes that give you cost reduction, such as the Breton or light armor passive, it actually diminishes the effect of this enchantment. So, for example, this 203, if you run this on a sorcerer, for example, with light armor, you're only getting effectively like 161 cost reduction on your shit. That's really shitty. So, cost reduction is most beneficial on heavy armor builds, which this one is. Uh, Last but not least, the bread and the butter, Malacanth Ring. Uh, this needs a nerf, fellas. This is absurd. Makes like your proc sets do more damage. Makes everything do more damage. You're just a fucking menace all the time. This helps our power lash. This helps burning embers. I mean this is just an incredible mythic. Go out, spend you like 5 hours to go get this if you don't have it. It's absolute necessity on DK, in my opinion. If you're gonna run heavy armor, you have just as much burst and sustain as a light armor build, plus you're a lot less squishy. Not gonna lie, this build's pretty fun, even though I'm not MetaSlave. But anyway, so there are the sets. Now, when it comes to the skills, we're gonna go over the skills, but trying to figure out which order to do this in. We're gonna go over the skills first. So there's two different setups you can run. Our potions are a big part of how we play. Not necessarily, but if you're going to min-max the build, here's how you're going to do it. Okay, so we're just going to hop into the skills real fast, and then I'll go back and explain the potions in a moment. Running Elemental Drain. Since we're running no recov, this gives us minor magic steal on anyone we apply this to. Essentially, effectively, this is 600 Magicka recov as long as you keep this up as many people as possible. More people we have this on, the better. Don't forget to apply this. Fossilize is the best CC in the game. If you're not running this, change it. Burning Talons, the only reason you're ever going to run this, it's super expensive. If you're not running Elfbane, I would not run this. But if you are running Elfbane, this dot is very, very fucking hefty. It's great crowd control. Applies big ass AoE. You don't have to be targeting them. Hit people behind you, beside you, fucking above you. I don't know. Maybe they're jumping on you. This is going to hit them. Whether or not it roots them doesn't matter. It applies the dot. So now everyone has burning on them, and they're ticking for hella damage. Now power lash. I tried using molten whip. I'm not gonna lie to you. Since healing is asinine this patch, you need power lash. You just do if you're gonna be on heavy armor. Um, Talent sets everyone off balance. So you just talons and just start whipping people. This is power lash on everyone you whip. It's an insane fucking heal. Look at that, over 2 seconds, a 5k tick. Get Cyrodiil. I mean, actually more. It'd be a 7k tick. Everything's completely unbuffed, by the way. Just give you guys a nice baseline. An incredible fucking heal. So these two go very well hand in hand, and you can justify the amount it costs because of Elfbane. Now, next, this is kind of your flex spot, just depending. If you're in big groups of enemies, definitely go with Engulfing Flame. If you're solo, I would definitely go with Engulfing Flame. Now, however, if you are running in like a 2-man group, 3, 4, no more than that, or if you're Zergan, fuck it. If you're Zergan, you can run this shit. Toss on Elemental Wall. What this does, it lasts for fucking ever, and it does a lot of damage. Everyone's gonna be burning, so it's gonna be doing 20% more. So this is a huge ticking dot. Plus, it can't be cleansed or purged because it's on the ground. Everyone walks into it, it's going to be affected. So this is a really good alternative if you didn't want to run Engulfing Flames. Plus, it has a little bit more range on it. Alright, so we're going to swap that back though. But since I am a solo player, this is more or less a solo build. We're going with Engulfing Flames. You could try run Burning Embers, but the way this build functions, you need as much AoE as possible. And Burning Embers is such a lackluster ability now. It's 20-second duration. Yeah, you can heal off of it, but let's be honest. When you apply this, when you're in a big group of people, it's really hard to target the person you applied this to get a heal from. You're much more safer. Just go to your back bar and spam Cauterize or the dog shit coagulating blood, but it's only burst heal. So anyway, now next, Ferocious Leap. The MetaSlaves are going to tell you to run shifting standard. Yes and no. It really depends on your situation. If you're in a group, yes, shifting standard by all means. Now, if you're solo, however, ferocious leap is very important. It's a gap closer, offensive and defensive. Does hella damage. It gives you a big ass shield. Especially those Night Blades. The Stam Night Blades are horrendous this patch in open world. They are very much overperforming. Probably the top one PvP class in the game currently. So this is to help you to chase down those cocksuckers who just want to stealth away from you. Now, if you run standard, you're not going to be able to. So this is why this is there. And then you can bag them afterwards. On our back bar, we do have a flex spot. We will come back to the flex spot. Our first ability is Coagulating Blood. This burst heal gives us major fortitude. Not gonna lie, for what it does, it's a dog shit heal. But what else are you gonna run if you run sword and board heavy armor? Um, I tried running Resto on this build. Don't run Resto, just don't. The rapid regen and all the passage you get from that just does not outweigh the amount of block mitigation you can have from sword and board. So run Coag. This sometimes it does good. Sometimes it heals a lot. But if you ever get hit with a minor or major defile, you're fucked. It's really hard to come out of that. Next ring, Dragonfire Scale. If you're not running this fucking ability, you are playing DK wrong. You're just playing it wrong. Okay. Now this projectile that hits, so it says 6K or whatever. It's actually more like 7K ish. Yeah, and then plus you're buffed up, you know, with all your shit, this goes above 8K. Well, what this translates to is this is a little bit more damage than a Flames of Oblivion proc. The entire ability itself, Flames of Oblivion, and this can be applied every half second. Okay? This does hella fucking damage. So if you have someone hitting you from range, they hit you with 2 or 3 light attacks, well, all of a sudden they're taking like 15, 16K worth of damage. You know, assuming it doesn't crit, which you can't crit, but anyway, they're taking a lot of damage, and that's where leap comes in. This softens them up. You leap to them, fucking dead instantly. So, uh, this applies a lot of pressure, and plus it mitigates a lot of damage. This is one of my favorite skills on the DK. Like I said, if you're not running this, you're just doing it wrong. Give it a try. Get back to me. Tell me I'm wrong. Now, next, volatile armor. Running this because again it's our class resistance buff and also does a little bit of damage, plus it pulls people out of stealth, so you can just spam this. It's a pretty big AoE actually. uh, it from here it'll probably reach this cauldron over there. It's pretty big AoE. Next ring cauterized. Now I played this build a lot and I would run into situations where I wouldn't be at full health. I wouldn't be too low to spam Coag, but I'd be kind of in the middle region, like 80% health or whatever. So this is kind of to fill that gap. Instead of using Coag, which costs uh, more than double, well, actually double what Cauterize costs, this is to keep you capped off, and always use this before you go into the fights, regardless. This is also here to give us a crit on our back bar. A crit on our back bar is good. We can still crit heal, so that's why this is here, to hopefully get some Coag crits. That would be nice. Our ultimate is Temporal Guard. This gives us a passive damage mitigation on the back bar. Ideally, I would run this or the Sword and Board ult. Entirely up to you. There's outplay potential with this one, however. So, and plus it gives you mitigation at all times on your back bar. Now, our flex spot. So, running Deep Thought, I found that if you are not in combat all the time, you just simply don't get your Magicka back because you're running like 500 fucking recup. You just don't get it back. So this is for the times in between fights. You know, if you get like a second or two to channel this, that's fucking great. It heals you, gives you your stamina, gives your Magicka back. This is a really, really, really good skill. Plus, when you're channeling it, take a look at your Sigil or skill line. This can be used to dodge a lot of bursts. If you know you are CC immune or you're about to take a huge amount of burst, what you can do instead of blocking or whatever, you can just simply channel it. And what this does is gives you major protection. So now you have access to major and minor protection on your back bar, reducing your incoming damage by 38%, just flat. And then on top of all your other mitigation that plays into it as well. So You can use this to outplay a lot of bursts. You see Meteor coming, use this, you know, instead of blocking if you really have to. But like I said, this is a really good in between to kind of catch up on your Magicka sustain. If you want to run something different, I know Channel Acceleration does not, you know, you don't benefit from the critical damage by 10%, but what it does do, it gives you a major expedition for a fuckload amount of time, so you can chase people down. You could run that, or if you want to, you could slot. Let me find it here. Excuse me. Eruption. Eruption's really good. If you plan on like on group play, Eruption is a great fucking skill. And if you don't have a class buff, let's say the potions you're kind of limited on, if you just want to have something that gives you your major sorcery without running expensive potions or the Alliance Drought that you find in Cyrodiil, we'll go over the potions here after this. You run Molten Ornaments, but ideally you would want to run the Mage's Guild Entropy or Degeneration if I can fucking find it here. Okay, so apparently I don't even have Mage's Guild on this tune because I don't use it because I use pots for that. So either run Molten Ornaments, Degeneration, or Structured Entropy, excuse me. So probably Structured Entropy if you don't have access to the pots. Now, with the pots being mentioned, there's all the skills, flexes, back bar again. The self recovery is ridiculous. Really help when you're turtling on your back bar. A lot of turnaround potential, guys. A lot of turnaround burst. Now, pots. I'm going to show you three different ones actually. So if you don't have a lot of money, you just want to play the game casually, that's fine. A lot of gold, excuse me. You're running the Alliance Droughts. These are really good. You can just buy them in Cyrodiil. Gives you the your major sorcery. Gives you major intellect and gives you crit. You don't really care much about the crit, but it does give you access to major sorcery without taking up a slot on your bar. So that's why you want to run these pots to kind of save a slot on your bar. Now, you can run tripods as well. Tripods are always good. Gives you major fortitude, gives you a health burst, bump in all your stat pulls, and I mean, this is just a great standard ability to, potion to have. Now, if you're being super offensive like I do, Nightblades drive me fucking crazy. Nightblades are the bane of Magicka's existence because they can just get away. They just the fuck out. Well, this is to shut that shit down, especially with our leap gap closer. So, use the Essence of Detection. You use cornflower, lady smock, and wormwood. You can make these. The expensive one is the cornflower. So if you find any deals in cornflower, definitely go for that. So this gives you you detect cocksuckers 20 meters away for 16 seconds. Gives you access to your major sorcery buff, which is a primary use. Restores Magicka and gives you major intellect. So this is our offensive pot. You don't necessarily have to keep this up at all times, but if I know if I'm going into a fight where I'm inevitably going to be fighting a Nightblade or any other stealthy class, I'm immediately going to pop an Essence of Detection. Now, just casually, I'm popping these, but if I know for a fact there's 2 or 3 Nightblades that are just going to be an annoyance, I will pop an Essence of Detection and chase their asses down and fuck them up and then typically bag them. Sorry if you're a Nightblade player, but it's really annoying. It's a very oppressive class. Next, this is the most expensive pot in the game. If you have the gold for it, definitely go for it. But Essence of Speed. Now, you have to use the Dragon's Brim, Dragon's Blood, and then Powdered Mother of Pearl. Now, the Powdered Mother of Pearl, it's a new item, of course. The baseline for the Mother of Pearl is 2,000 gold. So, extrapolate that over 200 pots. You know, so it gets really expensive just for one. It's 2,000 gold. It's really expensive really quick. But if you got the gold, this is our defensive potion. This is best in slot. Gives you major expedition to get the fuck away. Gives you major vitality, increase your healing by a shit ton. But more importantly, it gives you minor heroism. Minor heroism is very fucking good. It was introduced in this patch. You have your ult pretty much all the time. Now, speaking of ults, if you run standard in a group play or whatever, you can literally drop a standard within a standard. That's how much ult gen you get from this. Also, I forgot to mention, you can run Eye of the Storm on your front bar, your destruction ability, because this also scales off Elfbane. This should be 12 seconds. I'm not sure why it's not saying 12 seconds, but this does go up to 12 seconds. I assure you. Just the tooltip just hasn't updated. But yeah, it's a 12-second Destro ulti. It's pretty dope. Just forgot to mention that. But anyway, yeah, back to the pots. These are very expensive. Alternatively, if you didn't want the major vitality or whatever, the major vitalities are really where it gets expensive. You can just run I think it's Dragon's Brim, Dragon's Blood, and I'll leave a link to the website in a moment where it has all the alchemical ingredients. You can kind of mix and match yourself. But essentially, it gives you minor heroism, restores some health, gives you some stamina stuff. So I mean, that one is a lot less expensive and more attainable. But the big one is the minor heroism. And like I said, this is a super defensive potion. So if you got the gold, here you go. Lastly, trying to think if there's anything else I really need to mention that this build does differently than whatever MetaSlave shit that we have out there. No, there's nothing. So we'll go hop into champion points. This is damn near min-maxed. But like I said, guys, don't make fun of me. Have some fucking sympathy. I'm not max CP, so it's not technically min-max all the way. So with that being said, there's one thing to point out. Hrothgar is a direct damage proc. It's not a dot. It's a direct damage. It scales off direct damage. So, that being said, you're going to have a lot of points of Master at Arms. So, we got 23 Elfborn. I wouldn't put any more into this. We're not going to be doing critical damage, but the critical heals is still really good. Blessed, increase our overall healing done. Erosion, if you have more CP than what I have, I would toss the rest of your points into Spell Erosion because we're not running light armor, we are in heavy armor. It is important that we have Spell Pen. Elemental Expert 11%, wouldn't change that. Get Staff Expert to 10%. Master at Arms 22%. It's perfect. I mean, to be honest, a lot of people do this Exploiter passive. You can, but Hrothgar is direct damage. Doesn't scale Thaumaturge. You could toss a lot of points in Thaumaturge if you really wanted to, but the way I run this build, you definitely don't need to. No, just don't. No one cares about the dot damage. And then off balance enemies, it's kind of whatever. Next, have this up to 20%, 24, 38. You could probably put less in resistance. Pretty much what I run here. The rest of your points, put in Thick Skin, Elite Defender, and Hardy. Spread them out evenly. And then health recovery, get this up to about 6% as well to mimic your blue skill line, your bless, 6 point whatever percent. Next, we do sprint around a lot. Get this up to 15%. One in the Siphoner just to apply a debuff, just so the healers have to cleanse it. 20%. Run a lot into healthy. These recoveries don't mean a damn thing because they're so low anyway. Tumbling, we do roll dodge occasionally, and the rest in Shadow Ward. So essentially, we have like 60% block mitigation with all our sword and board passes and such. With all this, it's pretty good. Now, the only thing you really change up, like I said, is this blue tree. You could sack points into Elfborn. If your healing is fine, you can sack points in the Blessed. You have to sack points in everywhere just to get Thaumaturge just for this one Exploiter passive. In my opinion, it's just not worth it. So, there it is, guys. Oh, I thought my game just crashed there. I was about to freak the fuck out. So, if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. If you like the build, let me know. If there's something you run differently or change, please let me know. Like I said, if you're going to be a MetaSlave, you might as well do it right. And this build does it right. Give it a try. Trust me. You won't regret it. This has been Hoarcrux, and give yourself a round of applause. You sat through like a 20-25 minute video. Hopefully you didn't just skip to the end or whatever, and you found this very enjoyable, educational, informative. I don't know. I will be uploading clips. I'm not sure if I'm going to attach them to this video or one separate. I'll probably attach them to this video. Just me using this build in open world for a couple hours yesterday. I got plenty of clips. Pretty much wiped a Zerg solo. So I'll upload that right after this. And this has been Hoarcrux with his MetaSlave Elfbane build. And have a good day. Deuces.